Hello YouTube fans, this is TheSkullKlown. Now this might not be on my YouTube channel. If it is, well, it is. If it's not, it's not. I've been wanting to do this for quite a while, as you can tell from the title. So this is about proving that this sport right here, this game, I will talk about this game in a minute, the Mario Hoops 3-on-3. But this game right here, this basketball game, or any of the game, any sports game that has one goal to the end is literally a creation story, and also a story about sex. Basically, it's the story, basically when, you know, obviously when a male and a female have sex and all that stuff, that's where the basketball, soccer game, football game, tennis game is actually happening. And I'll prove it to you. Right? Now, I don't know if it's on here. Actually, I probably have to rate it all over again, because I got out of this and I don't have the other pages that I had up here. But I want to show you this Mario Hoops 3-on-3. Now, there was I'm not gonna play it. I'm just gonna show you obviously the demo clips and all that from here. So as you could tell, this game is obviously Mario mixed with Square Enix characters, Nintendo Square Enix characters. And notice that the characters are in this game. You have a monkey, you have this long-legged dude, which is Waluigi, a ghost, two dragons. You know, you got a female blonde chick right there too. Symbolisms in this game, people. Really symbolisms in this game. And I'll show you more, because there's a lot of what is it? Yeah, I know. This is not mine. I didn't write this. I recently got this, by the way, so yeah, just don't pay too attention to that. Actually, let me just delete it. Doesn't really matter. But it's funny that it's there. So anyways, this right here, obviously you can edit and all that stuff, but I just want to show you this. Sorry about that, people. It was this some fucking ad started popping up. That's what happens when you leave a fucking thing on here, and then all of a sudden ads want to come out. It's so fucking retarded. So I paused it. So okay, right here. I'm sorry about that, guys. Continue on. You see all these characters here. Alright, you even have Birdo here that's represented. She's in Japan version. Birdo's supposed to be a guy. Let that sink in right there. So you have Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Bowser Jr. and all that. It was a Koopa and all that. So what these characters represent? Obviously they represent different versions of you and me, obviously, but obviously they represent creatures and other beings that were around all realm, basically. And when the spiritual world and physical world were together, obviously Mario is kind of like an orc. Same thing with Luigi and everything like that. But when you go to Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, you'd be like, oh, they're monkeys too, right? They're like orcs and shit like that. You know, I would agree with you, but Nintendo, racist as they are, they depict Donkey Kong as a brother, and they also depict Fly Guy as a brother too. Now, Fly Guy, obviously you don't see him without his mask or anything like that, but one of his special moves is him having a staff and using the staff to make a score in the hoop. So the only time that they represent anyone for staff is our color people. Like, we're fucking wild savages and shit. So you go to the ball here, the ball is all colorful and all that. These are different types of balls and shit like that. Different types of meaning. You have a star here. You even have one that's all rainbowy. And I like to use the egg one, because it represents the cosmic egg and everything like that, if you're playing through the game and everything like that. Because the egg, if you're just playing with that, does represent the sperm or the egg of the woman, the sperm of the man, and the egg of the woman, depending what the situation is. So like if the players are playing around basically in the basketball field, that's basically the sperm going into one of the rooms of the woman, which I'll put it right here. Sorry about this, guys. So I was not planning to do fuck up a video like this, but okay, there's that. And let me put hold on, Mayan basketball. No, not Mayan basketball. Mayan. Let's put Mayan ball game because I want to show you something. Reason why I haven't really showed you while I'm scrolling and all that stuff, because I want you. Here we go. So you have this court right here, like I said, women's room. You see? You have a court side here, and then the court side here. You see this? This is the Mayan ball game court. You see how it's so similar? You see how it's very, very similar? That needs to, like, the sperm needs to come through here or here to fertilize the egg. You see? You have to shoot inside the basket. Now, this game is different, obviously, so I'm going to show you the videos. But one of if you shoot the ball in here, that means you win. Kind of like in Quidditch and Harry Potter. So, and I want to show you this too. Obviously, they have a dice. If you have a dice, let me show you. If you guys get offended of this, or be like, oh God, then you know. So obviously, it's kind of offensive a little bit if you have this guy that has a fucking staff and you put a fucking watermelon in it. Yeah, this game could be really racy if you actually look for it. So same thing with this, but if you switch to Con, it goes back to like, oh, you know, you know those old racy Warner Brothers shorts and all that, where it shows color people rolling dice and stuff like that. Well, yeah, here's an example of that, and then a watermelon of that. This game is completely like crazy if you actually start looking for stuff like that. Obviously most people are like, well, you're just looking for it, so it's not really there. In any look at the whole thing with Donkey Kong 64. All right, I will probably talk about that one day, but I'm not gonna talk about it here. Look at the whole thing of racy stuff about Donkey Kong 64, then come back to this video. All right, and for all the things that they could have put in this game as a ball, a dice and a freaking watermelon. Really? Maybe I can't understand the die because, you know, there's RPG characters here, like Final Fantasy characters and stuff like that. As you can see here, you know, you got the mage, ninja, white mage. And I want to tell you this too. You got the black mage, the ninja, and the white mage. That's us. These are us. These are all us at the end of the day. Guys, I want you to think about that. And you had other creatures like this thing and these, obviously, that are well, obviously, most likely Shy Guy is like us, and Donkey Kong is a brother and stuff like that, you know. But hey, don't say that. Oh, I'm racist for pointing that out, for kind of allowing Nintendo make these characters the way it is, you know. So even Mario is kind of represented as a brother too, because all the stuff that he can do is kind of like what a carbon person can do. And when you really think about it, all these people are all carbon, including the, you know, these characters that look white, even though they're not. I mean, they're not white. They're what was it? Light Negroes, basically. So even if Nintendo is depicting these characters as like white and shit like that, you know, there's always people that always say, how come there's not a black character in Super Smash Brothers? And then people point out Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong. And they'd be like, oh no, that's offensive and shit like that. But they're actually getting something right. But they don't want to point out that Nintendo's racist because all their favorite, you know, Nintendo characters, they don't want to know that. Diddy Kong, Donkey Kong, and Dixie Kong, for crying out loud, her name is Dixie. Dixie! There's an old Warner Brothers short that has a stereotype woman that she's called Dixie. Come on, people. Come on, man. They put it right in front of your fucking goddamn face and they still let that slide. Alright? So again, you could literally pick a watermelon and then have a profile like that, for example. So there is again, I would like to show you the special move that let's see, that this guy does. That this guy does. So I'll show you that soon. Let's see. Let's go right here on YouTube. Actually, let's do that right now. I was gonna pause and all that and go to the video, but we could do that right here. So, and you can look at this. So obviously, as I showed you from the pictures of the womb and everything like that in the Mayan game, as you can see, it's not that too similar. And obviously these elites took that game and made it differently, obviously. And that's how we get basketball, football, soccer, basketball, football, tennis, and stuff like that. So these type of games, they tell you the creation story and about the whole thing about, you know, the sex creation and the creation of life in general, you know. So that's what really it's all about. So let's see here. Let's see, Fly Guy. Mario Hoops 3 on 3. Oh, come on, man. Like, what the fuck? This is a... Usually like to misspell shit and then they show it here. Alright, so here they show all the...
End-to-end visibility allow...
Shut the fuck up. Alright. And this is what I usually do. If you want to do it, go ahead. There you go. And then they're going to fucking fast forward here. I am going to fast forward here just to show you guys. Oh, I think did I pass it?
Hey.
Nope. Sorry about this, guys. These commercials, like YouTube is starting to act like fucking Daily Motion, and Daily Motion sucks with its ads. I'm telling you that shit right now. I'm just looking for the character. Okay, here it is. Okay. This is his move. This is Fly Guy's move. And the thing is, if you look at Fly Guy, the only thing that the propeller on top of his head, if you switch the propeller with a bone, it says more than anything. This is his move. You see that? You see the staff? Alright? The game's gonna show you again, because you have to do it 3 times anyways in this game. So, there, I just wanted to show you that. And there's different types of stages in this game too that you should pay attention to. For kind of a lot of the final stages, you literally playing this game, playing the creation story, or playing basically the creation of life in the sky. You know, it's funny that it happens in the bottom, in the land, and then it happens in the sky at the end, so above, so below. Yeah, you see, you got to think about that more, you know. So let's go to some clips that I want to show you guys. Okay, guys, here it is. This is what the video is called. This is what the video is called. Ancient Mayan Sports Making a Comeback. BBC Real. You know, don't trust BBC. BBC is a piece of shit. So. Sorry about that glare, but... Listen to these people, man. They know what they're talking about. And every time you hear them saying that, oh, the sacrifice and all that shit, that didn't came from us. That came from these wicked motherfuckers. Alright? And that's all they want to talk about with the Mayans. It's fucking sad. It's sad that that history with the Mayans is stuck with it, even though they never had nothing involved with that shit. It was always these wicked ones.
tratar de pasarla por el medio. En cada cancha tiene que haber elementos que se van jugando en la cancha, constelaciones, el sol, la tierra, los 4 elementos.
La pelota pesa 3 kilos 800, pero ya cuando la pelota viene a distancia y a velocidad, ya no son 3 kilos 800, ya son 7 kilos.
Look at that. This is a great video too. Look at the stuff they put on them. Look at that paint. Remember the video that Remedy H talked about symbolisms and stuff like that? Your symbols of what you make inside of you and the symbols that we had?
Y pues yo me imagino cuando estoy en este juego como lo hacían mis antepasados, y es como conectarse con alguno de nuestros abuelos, uno guía como uno de ellos nos está guiando para jugar.
You see how they're not playing with their arms?
El juego tenía muchos aspectos. Está la parte religiosa, la parte deportiva y la parte militar. El problema fue aquí que vino la prohibición de muchas cosas.
Yeah, look at it. Right here. They banned the game because it was demonic. It's bullshit.
Jugar con una pelota tan pesada y que le pegaran con la cadera, le pegaran en los cualquier parte del cuerpo, que no les hiciera nada, para ellos adorábamos demonios.
Yep, that's how these orcs are, man. Look at that. Anything that they don't fucking understand, they will destroy. Anything that they don't want to know, they will destroy.
Solamente existían alrededor de 30 jugadores en Sinaloa. Sentí esa necesidad de poder transmitir eso. A través del juego hemos ayudado a muchos jóvenes de la adicción, del alcohol y de la droga.
See, this is coming back more popular, but they're not sacrificing people. Think about it. Why would they bring this game back if they were sacrificing people? I'm not saying they weren't, but it wasn't them. It was the elites. Right? When these fucking Dracos came and shit like that. They're even saying that once, they dress like this, they feel different, paying homage to their ancestors and stuff. And then these orcs are going to be like, they're so primitive. Man, fuck off. We're anything but. Alright. That was a good video. Sorry I did talk over it, but if you want to see more of it, you saw the title, and it's on YouTube. So, there's other ones I do want to show you. There's probably this. I'll show you the 2-minute one.
Not far from the archaeological site of Teotihuacan in the state of Mexico, a team of 4
Sorry about the volume.
Funkin called Ulama. It was forbidden during the Spanish conquest in the 1500s, but now Ulama is undergoing a resurgence thanks to the young Mexicans who have tried to retrieve the rules and meaning behind the sport.
What we're trying to do now is to understand the different ways this game was played, studying ancient texts, reading what the conquest reported about this activity, decrypting codices in order to imitate this game.
The event starts with a ceremony. Arturo recites a prayer in Nahuatl, the language spoken by the Aztecs. The game represents the battle between day and night.
You hear that?
Playing it was believed to balance the forces of the universe.
We would like others to get to know about the link with heaven and earth, to thank all the things that have been offered to us.
The sound of the drums, they say, moves the energy to clear the ball game field.
You hear it?
Players try to bounce the ball without using their hands through stone.
Hear that again, people.
The sound of the drums, they say, moves the energy to clear the ball game field. Players try to bounce the ball without using their hands through stone hoops.
Around 7 different ball games were played in Mesoamerica. These were also held as ritual events, and Ulama emerges as the mother version of these games.
Ricardo Tonatiuh built the Ulama court in Teotihuacan for young people in his community, so they could do more than just read about their culture in books.
We want the people and the new generations to look at this and say, hey, why instead of playing football or soccer, we just come and play our indigenous game. That's why we are doing it.
The original
in the
game.
past 2 years, the number of Ulama teams in the country has risen from 35 to over 70.
Now, I want to point this out too. When this whole system ends, we are going to go back to playing that type of stuff, you know? And the one thing too, again, when it comes to wrestling, a lot of people think that, oh, you know, people that are wrestling fans, I'm a wrestling fan too, I love wrestling. I've been watching this since I was a kid. But when it comes to wrestling now, when you see it, and especially in a higher view, you're like, this shit's done with them. All the shit that you say with Vince McMahon, I'm not getting deep into it, but you'd be like, that shit's done with them. So don't be like, oh, you know, there's not going to be no more wrestling. No, we created everything that's around here. I hope you know that. So we created these games to, you know, pass the time and do some fun shit. What, you think we were just building all day, guys? And be what? Some people think that we just build all day. Obviously, yes, we did. But we did other things. We did other things besides that, you know? So, going back to the video.
Federation. The growing interest in the sport has led the Federation to push for its inclusion in the Olympic Games. Valeria Leon, TRT World, Teotihuacan,
You see that?
Mexico.
You see? You see how it is? Look at the layout. You see how the layout is? And if you flip it, obviously because they don't flip it, if you flip it, it's the woman's womb, like I showed you here. Again, you flip it, woman's womb. Alright? Woman's womb. Okay? There's going to be more of it too. This video right here, I was going to show you this one. But I put this one because it kind of talks about the other one too. So, excuse me for my burping.
Hey everyone, today we'll be
Morning,
taking a look
Bob,
at
I
the
guess.
ancient Mesoamerican ball game played by the Olmec, the Maya, the Aztecs, and even some indigenous people today in the form of Ulama. So I was first captivated by this sport thanks to the animated film The Road to El Dorado, which is near and dear to my heart.
Love
but
that
actually
movie.
seems to have slipped under the radar for a lot of people, so I definitely recommend it. But basically what happens is that you have these two stowaways, Miguel and Tulio, who find themselves in a new world with a map to, well, El Dorado.
Fun fact. When I first saw El Dorado, it was in Spanish. It wasn't in English. Kind of funny, right? Kind of funny that when I first saw that movie, it was in Spanish. It wasn't in English. But moving on.
The city of gold. When they arrive there, they're going to be greeted as gods, and they're going to be invited to play ball in the grand court of the city before the king and his people. Obviously, they're trying to keep up the charade, the ruse here, but they find themselves at an impasse and have no idea how to play this game. The scene unfolds as Miguel and Tulio struggle to compete against 15 professional players who have little problem using their hips, thighs, and elbows to score points in this impossibly high hoop. After some coaching, the hip, and a healthy dose of cheating, the heroes manage to win and begin to celebrate. But the scene does take a dark turn when the heroes find out that the losing team, the team they just cheated to beat, is actually going to be sacrificed. So this scene has been seared into my memory, and obviously the ending there with the sacrifice is something that we all loosely associate with the Mesoamericans and the Aztecs in particular.
Of course. You know, that's the thing. People don't want to learn more about the Mayans and all that stuff because they'll be like, well, they were cannibals, so forget about them. And it's like, you do realize there were so-called Hispanic people around there, right? We were all over the world, right? 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 So you don't want to think about that. You just want to think about your fucking Caucasian ass being here for like thousands of years or billions of years or since the beginning. Man, bitch, no. You fucking wish, man. You fucking wish. Right? It's fucking hilarious.
But I figured, you know, this is an animated film. It's about time that we dig into the history. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's start first with our sources of evidence. How do we know what we know? Well, the most obvious line of evidence is going to be the ball courts themselves. We have over 1,000 archaeological remains, which are spread out across Mesoamerica with different densities. And some of our earliest ones are found in Paso de la Amara, which date all the way back to the 1600s BC, so these are definitely very prevalent in this culture. We even have some preserved rubber balls, which I believe were dredged out of swamps. So it's all pretty cool. We have the ball and the ball court, but still put those two together, and it leaves a lot to the imagination for how this game was played. So let's turn to our second line of evidence. And this is actually going to be written records, which give us some context. These come in the form of some writing from Mesoamericans themselves, either from, sculpted reliefs or codices, as well as writings from the Spanish chroniclers in the 16th century. While all this information is definitely enlightening, I still have to note that there's much we don't know. But with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what the historians have been able to piece together when it comes to the ball court, the rules, the players, the crowds, the societal function, and yes, the sacrifice associated with it. The ball court. So these ancient playing fields come in many shapes and sizes, but typically take the form of an eye. In the middle of the eye, you have this central alley, which is going to be flanked by two walls on either side, either sloped or vertical. And
I want you to hear that again.
But typically
Both
take
this.
the form of an eye. In the middle of the eye, you have this central alley, which is going to be flanked by two walls on either side, either sloped or vertical. And then on each of these sides, you're going to have mounted these stone hoops, which are often highly decorated. But it's important to note that you don't always have these hoops present. And then on either end of the court, the end of the eye, you have these sort of end zones, which might actually be open or backed by a wall or even a temple. And since this was a spectator sport, there would also be surrounding stands for crowds to gather and watch. Additionally, markers might be built into the court for either practical or symbolic reasons. The rules. The game was actually played between two teams, with each team having around 5 to 8 players. These teams then faced off and competed to score points with a rubber ball. Points could be scored in a variety of ways, depending on the version of the game, and it seems to have varied by location and time period, because all my references were talking about a whole bunch of different rules, and I'm not sure if they were all, in place at once, or if these represented different versions. But in any case, let's go over some of the basic rules. So, in terms of scoring points, you could score a point when an opponent failed to return the ball or knock the ball out of bounds. You could score points if the ball was launched into the opposing team's end zone or when special markers were hit. And you could also score points when you passed the ball through one of those two flanking hoops. The flanking hoops were actually very, very special in that it was very hard to get the ball through there, and if you did it, it ended the game instantaneously. So that functions a bit like the snitch in Quidditch, although we'll have some Harry Potter experts in here that, the snitch doesn't automatically win you the game.
Yeah.
But, come on, it gives you 150 points, and it's hard to come back from a deficit like that. So the analogy stands. In any case, those are going to be the main ways you could score points. Another important thing as well is going to be how you could handle this ball to get those points. Well, again, rules do seem to vary, but the main ones...
Sorry about that, guys. It kind of disconnected a bit.
...is going to be how you could handle this ball to get those points. Well, again, rules do seem to vary, but the main one seems to say that across all these games, you couldn't use your hands or your feet.
Yep.
So in various games, you would see players actually rely on their hips, their thighs, their knees, sometimes their elbows, and even their heads. And you get a penalty for breaking these rules. So we've covered rules which dictate how you can interact with the ball, but then there's other rules as well which dictate the end of the play, and these are both going to be tied to the ball itself. So one version is going to be a bit like volleyball, the other one's more like tennis. In the volleyball variant, essentially the play ends when the ball hits the ground on one side. So The goal here is, while it's on your side, you got to keep it up in the air and toss it over to the opponent's side. And Diego Duran, this ancient friar, actually claims that skilled players back in the day were able to keep the ball up in the air for up to an hour at a time. So that's insane.
Look at
the
that.
Other
You
version
heard that?
Essentially, the play ends when the ball comes to a stop on...
Sorry. We kept the ball up in the air for an hour. An hour. Who can do that? Who could do that? Nowadays, man, there's brothers and sisters that won't even fucking goddamn kick a fucking goddamn volleyball. When I was in school, they didn't kick no fucking dodgeball. They just kick it, went to a fucking goddamn corner and shit like that. And the gym teacher was like, "My God, you guys don't want to fucking play gym or something." Like the gym teacher was also, he was an orc, but the gym teacher was upset, saying like, "Guys, you guys are lazy." Yo, that gym teacher was an asshole anyways. Like, fuck him. I could tell a whole story about that, but nah, I'm good.
One team's side. So in that version, things are, the space between players, I would presume, are a little bit wider. And my theory about this is that the two versions would probably have their own separate ball courts. Because if you look, for instance, at the ball court of Chichen Itza, there's no way you're going to be able to keep the ball up in the air on such a huge court. So my theory about, ball courts like Chichen Itza is that's probably the variant of the game where the ball just can't stop moving on your side. So those are the two versions. But again, I'm not quite sure, where and when these rules were played, how they superimpose with the previous rules that we talked about. So it's all a bit of a mystery still. But I hope this has been somewhat elucidating.
All right, here we go.
Players. Well, as we've seen, the game seems to have been pretty popular, and thus was most likely played by large portions of the population, probably in informal courts, although the aristocracy were probably the ones playing on these official ball courts that we still see today. And they would have been doing so for both recreation and sport, and these nobles were sometimes joined by non-noble professional players, who actually made a living off of prizes or were sponsored by the royalty. And when these players took the field, they would typically wear loincloths or short skirts, and for protection, they would don leather, wood, or woven padding, and even often gloves, since they'd be running around, slamming into the ground, hitting this heavy rubber ball, hitting the walls actually as well. But from what I've been able to tell, I'm not quite sure if they were actually hitting each other. I don't believe that there was much contact between the players. I think it's mostly contact with the ground, although I could be mistaken.
Now, look at this picture real quick. Look at that. He's wearing like a serpent headdress, I think he's wearing like a serpent headdress too, but it's like more of an eagle. You can barely see it, but I think that's what it is. So when you look at this picture right here, it just goes back to this. To all these, creatures, all these, what you want to call monsters, beings, and all that. I'm telling you guys, there's, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were talking about. Always see your video games and movies in a different viewpoint, people. Don't look at them as entertainment. You can have fun with them. You can have, observe them and stuff like that. But when they're telling you something, you need to pay attention, okay? Don't be like, oh, no, I'm just going to ignore it. Well, then you never learn.
Another thing that you might also see is that due to the ceremonial nature of the games, their uniforms might actually include some elaborate headdresses or other apparel, which could actually be donned during play or after the end of play. So now for the last part of the video, we're going to expand our scope to talk about the world which formed around the sport itself. So let's start first with the crowds. So as we've mentioned, this is definitely a spectator sport, and it's likely that this was a game that drew the attention of the rich and the poor alike. Although, from what we can tell, the ball courts themselves never really reached the size of grand stadiums to accommodate the masses. Rather, it appears that these great ball courts were attended by largely nobles and elite classes. These individuals were greatly invested in the outcome of the matches, as gambling was extremely widespread. According to one of the chroniclers that I found, he says that these nobles were known to bet jewels, slaves, precious stones, fine mantles, the trappings of war, and women's finery, as well as even mistresses. In some other stories, I actually found references to kings who were wagering away parts of their territory, such as marketplaces or royal gardens, just on the outcome of these games. In a broader sense, these games were actually very important to society, as is evidenced by the appearance of ball courts in most of the major cities. They were often located in or around the sacred precincts and were flanked by temples, which closely tie them to important political and religious functions. The ball courts themselves not only hosted ball games, but also doubled as locations for festivals, feasts, and ceremonies.
Yep.
Any such gathering points were definitely very important, and served to form a bridge between the different levels.
Almost like you know, celebration, feasts, and festivals. It's almost like the Super Bowl. It's almost like, you know, those big events for the NBA stars and, you know, and the big stuff for, you know, the tennis people and shit like that. You see how these elites are? They take something that's ours and then they make it into something that's literally, what's it called? Wine and bread and wine, some shit like that. Circus and what is it? Bread and circus. That's what it's called.
Of society. But perhaps the religious ties are going to be some of the most important underlying factors.
Hear this.
This is going to be made clear by the religious iconography adorning the ball courts,
Religious.
as well as the appearance of the ball games themselves in the specific religious texts and images. Apparently, the ball represented the sun, which was passed between each side of the court, which symbolized the heavens and the underworld.
Alright. He's not going. He's not. But this still represents a womb at the end of the day. Alright? But look at this skull-like figure person. Yeah, you see that? And then you have like a serpent type of dude, I guess, right? Or an eagle type of dude that has a serpent on him, or holding a serpent. A skull and a serpent, which is still a bird, so I'm going to call it a dragon.
This solar cycle was actually of huge significance to the Mesoamerican religion and tied closely to the cycles of death and rebirth. As such, the equinoxes were very important dates, and it appears that the ball games were scheduled to mark the battle between celestial and infernal forces on these events. This brings us to our final discussion of sacrifice. The Mesoamericans, and the Aztecs in particular, believed that the machinery of the world was driven by vital energy.
You see, this is the shit that these motherfuckers want to push out. We didn't do this shit. What the fuck?
In blood. Religious ceremonies were often tied up to offering such nourishment to...
Alright? You know why this shit happened? This happened because we forgot who we were and we listened to these motherfuckers and we thought that they were the gods. Alright? That's what happened. And then we had to fucking literally kill our own kind or sacrifice other people to literally give honor to the gods. I mean, look at that. Look at that. With the claws and everything like that. Man, come on, guys. Who do you think this is? Come on. Alright? Really? Yeah, it could be these Dracos and shit and orcs and stuff like that, but it could obviously it could be anything, you know? But the more I'm thinking about it is a fucking goddamn orc. But not to say it's not a fucking reptile. Look at these fucking claws here. Especially the feet. Look at the feet. Look at the fucking feet.
Drive the machinery of the world. It appears...
The reason I mentioned an orc, because it almost has like some type of pig head, you know?
That the ball games held on these important religious dates were thus also associated with sacrifice and the battle between the celestial and infernal forces. This seems to be confirmed by the murals at Chichen Itza, which show a ball player representing the sun being sacrificed on the vernal equinox, and a player representing the moon being sacrificed on the autumnal equinox.
Gone, all gone.
However, it's unclear to what degree this was actual practice or merely symbolic. But given the track record of the
Alright, we're done. We're done. So, that's really it, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And don't forget what I've told you in this video. And tell me what you guys think, you know, in this video. So I'll see you guys later. There was a video that I was going to show you that the Mayans were all black. But you guys can look for that video. It's right here. This is the title for it if you really want to see it and stuff like that. So there it is. Don't worry, I got you guys when it comes to that. So I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think about all of this stuff. Tell me what you guys think about what I said about, you know, the game. The Mayan ball game is similar to, you know, the woman's womb, obviously. And then all the stuff that the Mayans wore and everything like that is similar to some of these, you know, characters that we have. And then obviously you have some of us here too, you know, and other beings here. So I want you guys to think about that too. So I'll see you guys later and be safe.